Good afternoon. How many of you have read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? Okay, good number. It was published about 20 years ago, quickly became a business bestseller, not only because it tells an interesting story and has an important lesson, but any business book that's just 30 pages is destined to be a bestseller. So the story's about two mice and two little people that live in a maze searching for cheese. The two mice are named Sniff and Scurry, and that's exactly what they do. They race through the corridors of the maze, always looking for cheese, and as soon as they find it, they still look for more. Then there's the two little people, their names are Hem and Haw. They also look for cheese, but once they find their cheese, they become content, they settle down, and they fail to realize when the cheese starts to slowly disappear. Well, it's not a problem for Sniff and Scurry. They know exactly where to find their new cheese. But Hem and Haw are in denial and struggle to find new cheese. They nearly actually starve to death. They don't, because the book has a happy ending. They finally find the cheese. But they do learn two important lessons. Number one, cheese doesn't last forever, so always keep an eye out for disappearing cheese. And secondly, there's always new cheese to be found, but you have to go find it because it just doesn't come to you. Well, I'd like to tell you my cheese story, so I'm going to take you back 32 years ago to 1987. Ouch, it's a long time. So it's 1987, and that's the year that I founded my company, Project One, based in New York City. I quickly brought my dad, Lester, into the business. He was an attorney as well as a CPA, which was great for the operations in the back office. I then brought my brother, Stuart, into the business to run our recruiting organization, and shortly thereafter had another brother, they're coming out of the woodwork, brought him in, my brother Ron, and he's also a CPA, brought him in so he worked with my father as we grew and expanded the business. So back then, we were a DP consulting and staffing company. For those of you who don't know what DP is, it stands for data processing. And that's what we called IT back then. We placed consultants in all the latest and greatest technologies, all three of them. IBM mainframe COBOL, IBM CICS, and IBM vSAM. Those were the good old days. First of all, nobody understood what the heck DP was, let alone how to hire these people, so we were very well respected, even as a staffing firm. Also, the term hiring budget was not yet in the client's vocabulary, so money was like rarely an object. And the best part, there was no such thing as VMS. So we used to say in the industry, if a candidate knew how to spell COBOL, he was hired. It was a simple business model. We were proud to be a middleman. There was little competition and little pressure on margins. So we had a nice run for about a dozen years or so. It was a family-run, family-owned business. We grew it to about $12 million a year, 80 consultants on billing, very respectable 25% margins. But then all of a sudden, our cheese started to slowly disappear. So word had gotten out how wonderful and profitable the DP consulting staffing model was, and that brought in more and more competitors, which gave clients more and more choices because we were all doing the exact same thing. And then, interestingly enough, two major events, industry events occurred. In 1996, Microsoft was sued $100 million for using independent contractors instead of hiring them as W-2 employees and paying benefits. For those of you who were around back then, you might know that as the infamous Permatemp case. It was Microsoft versus Viscano. Interestingly enough, what that did was it caught the attention of the HR and legal departments within the clients, and they started to meddle into the affairs of contractor policies. And then a few years later, as we neared the year 2000, companies were using tons and tons of Y2K consultants because they needed to recode their 2-digit years into 4-digit years for their systems. And the result of that was the finance and accounting departments realized the huge consulting expenses their companies were running up. So like their brethren before them in HR and legal, they too started to meddle into the affairs of contractor acquisition policies. Looking back now, those two industry events were major drivers in what would soon become the VMS business. Ah, yes, the VMS business, the case of the disappearing cheese and disappearing profit margins. So the year is now about 2005, and here we are based in New York City, the financial capital of the world. And no surprise, at the time, most of our clients were major banks, brokerage, and insurance companies. But just our luck, financial services was one of the first industries to adopt this new VMS business model. Well, needless to say, all of a sudden, our bill rates and pay rates were being questioned by clients. Pricing discounts were being demanded. Markup restrictions were being placed on us. And then we couldn't even talk directly to our hiring managers anymore. That was being prohibited. We were being commoditized. And we said to ourselves, you know what? Our margins were shrinking. We said internally, we work too damn hard to make too little. So before I go on with my story, I do want to say this. I'm actually not here to bash the VMS business. In fact, some of my best friends work for VMS companies. And there are many staffing firms in the industry, and many here today, that do a wonderful job of serving that marketplace. But this story isn't about them. It's about me and my company, Project One, how we detected our disappearing cheese, how we sniffed and scurried to find new cheese, which for us was to create a new non-VMS business model. Now you might ask, why would we ever want to create a non-VMS business model when the rest of the industry is moving in this new VMS direction? Well, 3 words. Actually, 1 word, but 3 words. To be different. To be different. There we go. We didn't like where the VMS business was headed. It was commoditizing our industry. And when you're a commodity, your only differentiator is price. And that becomes a slippery slope downward. Yes, it's true that VMS does offer higher volumes, but in order to be profitable in that space, you have to be a low-cost provider. And that's where the larger firms, and particularly the nationals, have the advantage with their cost economies of scale over smaller firms like ourselves. But even more than that, more importantly for us, was that transactional staffing just wasn't in our DNA. Our DNA was always very consultative, where we took a consultative approach to what we called consultative staffing, emphasizing quality over quantity. And we knew that we would fail miserably if we had to compete in a high-volume, low-cost environment. So for us, it was very simple: differentiate or die. We knew that we needed to transform ourselves and would better serve ourselves, our employees, our clients, if we were a boutique, specialty niche player within a vertical niche. And the niche that we chose was media and communications. So despite our Wall Street focus at the time, we did have a couple of media clients. And when we looked at the type of business, the quality of the relationships, the interesting projects, and even the bill rates that we were writing with those couple of clients, they were much better than the relationships and the business we were writing with our VMS clients. So after some in-depth conversations with both groups of clients and a little bit of market research, we made it a point and a goal for ourselves to specialize in media and communications. Now, we did consider specializing in the financial services industry because, after all, we knew it so well. That's New York City, the financial capital of the world. But by then it was too late because the clients had already typecast us, as well as the other staffing firms, as body shop commodities. So what we did was, in 2007, it's 12 years ago, we made it a goal of ourselves that we wanted to be a pure play media tech consulting and staffing firm. And media tech, of course, is now what we call technology for media businesses. We wanted to be the #1 source of top media tech talent for clients and the #1 top source of media projects and opportunities for candidates. We wanted to build a proprietary database of pre-vetted, pre-screened top talent, pure plays, those candidates that dedicated their careers and loved and enjoyed working within the media industry. We wanted to have that candidate database because we felt it would give us a competitive advantage over other staffing firms that tend to be more generic and tend to be jack of all trades, master of none. And we believe that that would give us a competitive advantage to allow us to work directly with business units and deal directly with hiring managers and, in a sense, work outside the VMS and other gatekeepers that tend to get in the middle of the process. Also, we felt strategically it would allow us to expand geographically into other cities that had a strong media presence. And the best part, we really believed we'd be able to increase our profit margins because we'd be delivering a higher quality, higher level of service, and a higher ROI for our clients. So how did we make this happen? Well, it took a lot of learning. We made it a goal that we wanted to become more than just keyword, buzzword jockeys, but we truly wanted to understand in depth the business of the media clients and the scope and purpose of projects that our consultants would be working on. And we wanted to have intelligent conversations with clients where we could provide guidance and advice as opposed to be just viewed as filling job orders. So we studied the marketplace and we looked at all the players, hardware, software, service providers in the media space, what their products were, their systems, processes, technologies. We attended industry conferences and seminars for further learning, as well as to build relationships. We proactively started seeking out those pure play media tech candidates and consultants to populate that proprietary database. Similarly, we were, of course, meeting with media tech hiring managers. We went as far as sponsoring roundtables where we would bring in the media tech clients so they could introduce themselves to their peers at other companies we were calling upon, and that helped brand our name in that niche. And as we gained more industry knowledge and built out our relationship network, we really started to believe that we were more than just a staffing agency or a so-called body shop, but we were moving up the staffing food chain to become a more of a trusted business partner, an advisor to provide guidance and direction because of the knowledge that we're amassing through these learning experiences. And while we started to grow the media business, we made a couple media placements and we built upon that. As we generated more momentum and some revenues, it gave us the confidence and the strength, the ability to sunset and gracefully exit out of the VMS business that we still had at the time. So what were our results? It's now been 12 years that we've been specializing in the space, and it was absolutely the right choice and decision for us. And that's evidenced not only qualitatively with the quality of our relationships and the referrals that we get, not only from candidates but from clients, but also financially. From 2 offices, we since opened up a Denver office to complement our New York office. The Denver office handles our West Coast clients. We deal with over 30 leading brands across 10 different states in broadcast television, cable and communications, sports and news media, entertainment, publishing, ad tech. You know, ordinarily a firm based in LA or even Miami would never consider or think twice about utilizing a small tech staffing firm based in New York had it not been for our expertise in their industry. So from a $12 million business that we had years back with declining margins, ready to dip beneath 20%, we re-engineered ourselves where we're currently $20 million worth of revenues, over 100 top media tech consultants on projects, and generating over 32% in gross margins. Particularly excited is Eliason Group. They, as you heard, acquired our business earlier this year in April, not only because of the achievements and what we've accomplished in the space, but of course also the prospects for continued growth. And they've made a commitment to aggressively expand our business, so much so that I myself have decided to continue with them in an ongoing role within their organization. And had we remained a generic staffing firm with little differentiating value to offer, they probably would not have even taken a look at us. So the title of my talk today, Differentiate or Die, and it's so critical, especially in today's marketplace. If you look like every other company you compete with, you're a commodity. And it doesn't matter how attractive your website is or how articulate your salespeople or recruiters are, you're a commodity. If you can't demonstrate a real tangible value difference, what you do versus other companies, you're a commodity. Listen to how your salespeople are pitching your clients. Listen to how your candidates are pitching, your recruiters are pitching your candidates. Better yet, speak with a couple of your clients, have open and candid conversations, and ask them how they view your business. If you find your cheese is slowly disappearing, do not be like Hem and Haw. Be like Sniff and Scurry. Keep one eye on your current cheese and one eye where to find it next. We did, and I know you can too. Thank you.